RFK Jr. came out with a statement about autism yesterday that kind of set me off, and I said something about it, and people came after me because apparently I was too ignorant, too stupid, didn't understand. What he really meant to say was, and my point is, you can hold the leadership of this country to a higher standard. This one's not going away. It's not just his statement now. This shit gets worse. This is about the autism stuff that he's working on. I agree. We need to figure out what's going on with a way to treat autism because it's not being treated properly, especially for adults. When it's we deal with kids all the time, but we don't deal with the adult side of it. But now RFK Jr. has come out and said, "Oh, hey, in a few months, I'm going to have this whole thing solved. No problem. Bingo, bango. Hey, I'm here. I'm your guy." Right. So RFK, first off, science doesn't work that way. Second off, the only way he can say that is if he already knows the answer. And if he went in looking for a particular answer and he's crafting the data due to that, that's not how you do science. I understand everybody's going to go, well, how do you know? PhD in physics, not medicine, physics. I have published papers. I have published a lot of papers. I've patented products. I've worked at universities. I've worked in labs. Science, you don't get to go in with a predetermined, here's the answer. You get to come out with here's an answer, maybe, but you don't necessarily get to go in with here's an answer. And if he can solve it in a few months, that means he's already got his answer in his head and he's trying to figure out which set of data he's going to use to support it. But let's take a look at who he tapped to help him. This gets worse. RFK Jr. taps man who harmfully injected autistic children with anti-puberty drug to run his autism study. I'm going to let the headline of this go because it's for clickbait. All right. Just let that part go. But this one deserves being talked about. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has tapped a man who has used controversial and potentially dangerous puberty blocking treatments on autistic children to help lead a new study on the causes of autism. But wait, it gets worse. I'm going to pick on this article a little bit first, right? So the article goes into some detail and they slam Republicans, fine. I don't care. But it comes out and says, hey, by September, we're going to know that. But that's, they actually point out that's not the way science works. So what they did, and this is where I'm going to pick on them, they go and talk to a lawyer and say, hey, lawyer, can you help us figure out what he meant? You should have talked to a scientist. All right. There's a shitload of them out there. I'm one. Lots of people would have answered your call on this one. Now, nobody told us now here's the part that the lawyer actually gets right is, hey, can you go tell us how he did that? Well, he's hiding what process he's using. That's not usually how you do these things. Lack of transparency raises questions. Okay, that's great. Now, David Greer, remember that name because this matters. That's the guy that's picking, that's helping. Now, in 2006, a physician named Mark Greer and his son, David Greer, published a groundbreaking draft paper in the Journal of Autoimmunity Reviews. They had claimed to have conducted a series of laboratory tests that had concluded that this mercury-based preservative common in vaccines was one of the causes of increases in autism. How did they do that? They had treated autistic children with what's called that thing I can't pronounce, commonly referred to Lupron. It's a hormone treatment to prevent early puberty and treat prostate cancer. Here's the fun part. Okay. One autism activist noticed something odd about the way the Geyers had conducted a study. When doing research with human subjects, it's typical to assemble what's called an institutional review board, or IRB. As Oregon State University explains, an IRB is charged with the responsibility of reviewing prior to the initiation all research, whether funded or not, involving human participants. The goal is to protect the test subjects. The IRB in this case consisted of the Geyers, associated with the activists laid out other written complaints in the journal. So here's their review board. Mark and David Greer, Dr. Geyer's wife, I keep saying Greer, the two Geyers business associates, and two mothers of autistic children, one of whom had publicly acknowledges that her son, patient subject, was one of the plaintiffs in 3 pending vaccine injury claims. I wonder if they have a preconceived notion of what the answer would be. Right there, it says they have a conflict of interest. An institutional review board has to have no conflict of interest. That one has them all over the place. Now, if they're going to be working with a member of your family, you absolutely want, there's conflict of interest here. Now, hold on. This gets worse. The study ended up being retracted. The Geyers, however, continued to argue for the autism vaccine link. Eventually, in 2011, the Maryland State Board of Physicians came to the conclusion that the Geyers had violated the standards of care. The following year, Mark Geyer was stripped of his medical license. David never had one in the first place, but was disciplined for practicing medicine without a license. That's the guy who's helping RFK figure out what's going on. Congress said it. What the hell were you thinking here? Seriously. This article may be aggrandizing and clickbait in some ways, but facts are fact. That shit fucked up. Fix it.